Dear teacher job aspirants, if you want to get teacher job in central government and state government schools, focus on child development and pedagogy. Dr. Moses, expert in psychology and pedagogy, developed online classes for child development pedagogy exclusively for English medium students. This course consists of 100 pre-recorded video classes, 2000 topic-wise practice bits, 200 pages digital study material. For more details, install Emily Academy mobile app from Play Store. For more professional videos, subscribe Dr. Moses Emily YouTube channel and press bell icon. If you want this course, call to 9515151879.
You are learning child development and pedagogy or psychology. In psychology, next important topic, memory power. Memory is not only useful for your competitive examinations, but also in day-to-day life you require memory power. Sometimes forgetting is bliss and sometimes it is curse. If you are not able to recall what you have learned in classes, it is curse. Sometimes if you forget bitter experiences, it is bliss. So memory is a lower cognitive ability. In 1885, a German psychologist, Ebbinghaus, published a book on memory. This book was considered as the milestone in experimental psychology. So try to remember, in 1885, when our Indian National Congress was formed, a German psychologist, Ebbinghaus, published a book on memory. So on memory is a milestone in the field of experimental psychology. So what is the meaning of memory? Very simple, it is the ability to recall and recognize past events or concepts. In simple terms, memory is the mental capacity to store and recall and recognize the past experiences. The past experiences may be concepts, technical terms, dates, years, facts. Now I would like to demonstrate my memory power with regard to important milestones in the history of Indian education system. In ancient education system, during Vedic education system, there were 4 classes: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. There are 4 Vedas: Rigveda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharvana Veda. There are 4 stages of human life: Brahmacharya, Gruhasthasrama, Vanaprastha, Sannyasasrama. During Buddhist education system, the primary education ceremony is called Pabbajja, the higher education ceremony called as Upasampada. After 1712 attack of Arabs in India, in between 1712 to 16th century, Muslim education system was prevailing. In those days, primary education is called Maktab, high school or secondary education is called Madrasa, and university education was called as Madrasa Ila. The primary education starts with a ceremony, it is called Bismillah Khan or Bismillah Khani for Muslim boy at the age of 4 years, 4 months and 4th day. In 1192, the first Maktab was started by Muhammad Ghori. After discovery of sea route to the India by Vasco da Gama in 1498, the Western education system came into the India. So the first higher education college was started by St. Francis Xavier in 1575 in Bandra. In 1716, the first teacher education college was started in South India nearby Nagapatnam in Tranquil Bar by Jijan Bal. In 1792, Charles Grant published a book, Observations. Based on this book, in 1813, an act was passed by British Parliament. It is 1813 Charter Act. So based on that 1813 Charter Act, 1 lakh was sanctioned by the British Parliament for education in India. In 1835, Macaulay was proposed a theory, downward filtration theory. He propagated English education. In 1854, Wood's dispatch was appointed by British government. Based on Wood's dispatch, higher education institutions were started in India. In 1882, Hunter Commission was appointed by the British government. Hunter Commission suggested primary education should be supervised by the local bodies. In 1902, University Education Commission was appointed. In 1904, University Education Act was passed. In 1911, Gopalakrishna Gokhale passed a bill in Imperial Legislative Council on free and compulsory primary education. In 1917, Sadler Commission was appointed. Sadler Commission is also called Calcutta Education Commission. So he suggested some reforms in higher education, secondary education and intermediate education. So in 1929, Hartog Committee was appointed by the Britishers to look after the problems in primary education. Hartog identified 2 problems in primary education: wastage and stagnation. In 1937, Mahatma Gandhi proposed a education system. It is called Varda Education Plan or Basic Education. He emphasized craft-centered education, which is suitable for Indian education system. In response to Varda Education Plan, Britishers appointed a committee, Abboud Wood Report. They suggested technical education for high school and higher secondary level. In 1944, Sargent Committee was appointed by CABE, Central Advisory Board of Education. In fact, CABE was started in 1920. It was cancelled in 1922. It was restarted in 1930s. So in 1944, Sargent suggested some implications from KG to PG. After independence, in 1948, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan Committee was appointed. He gave some reforms on higher education. So based on the recommendation of Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, in 1951, BG Care Committee was appointed on the primary education to suggest the relationship between state government and local bodies. In 1956, UGC was established as autonomous body. In 1957, a committee was appointed by Government of India. It is called Durgabai Deshmukh Committee on National Commission for Women Education. In 1959, Sri Prakasha Committee was appointed on Moral and Religious Education. In 1961, Dr. Sampurnananda Committee was appointed on National Integration Education. In 1962, Hans Mehta Committee. In 1963, Bhaktavasalam Committee were appointed on women and girl education. In 1961, NCERT was started. In 1964, Kothari Commission was appointed by Government of India. It is also called Indian Education Commission. So he suggested 3-language formula. Kothari Commission report starts with a statement, the future of India is being shaped in the 4 walls of the classroom. Based on the Kothari report, the first education policy was formulated in 1968, whereas the second education policy was started in 1986. Today, based on the TSR Subramaniam Committee report, based on the Kasturi Rangan report, 2020 National Education Policy was formulated by the Government of India. So in 1968, the first education policy was proposed by Government of India. In 1971, the first residential school was started in Nalgonda, Sarvel. In 1971, in United Andhra Pradesh, non-education policy was started. In 1975, the first NCF was proposed by NCRT, National Council of Education Research and Training. So NCF means National Curriculum Framework. It was defective. That's why in 1977 a review committee was appointed on NCF 1975. It was Ishwari Bhai Patel Committee. Ishwari Bhai Patel Committee suggested some reforms in high school and primary education. But later in 1978, Malcolm Adisheshaya Committee was appointed on plus 2 level curriculum, intermediate level education. In 1979, NEPA was formed. In 1982, the first distance education university in India, Ambedkar Open University, was started. In 1983, 2 commissions were appointed by the Government of India on teacher education, Chettopadhyay Commission and Rai Ahmad Commission. In 1984, CIET, Central Institute of Educational Technology, was started by Government of India under the guidance of NCRT. In 1985, SIET, State Institute of Educational Technology, was started. In 1985, IGNOU, Indira Gandhi National Open University, was started. In 1986, during Rajiv Gandhi era, when P.V. Narasimha Rao was HRD Minister, Human Resource Development Minister, 1986 new policy on education or national policy on education was proposed. So based on 1986 national policy on education, some reforms were implemented by the Government of India. There were 2 review committees on 1986 national policy on education. One is in 1990 Acharya Ramamurthy Committee, in 1992 N. Janardhan Reddy Committee. So in 1988 National Literacy Mission was started. In 1990 Acharya Ramamurthy Committee was appointed on NPE 1986. Acharya Ramamurthy Committee suggested early school education should be made as directive principle and primary education should made as fundamental right. In 1992, POA, Program of Action, was started based on the recommendations given by N. Janardhan Reddy Committee. In 1993, NCTE was started. NCTE means National Council for Teacher Education. It was become an autonomous body. Actually, it was started in 1973. So NCTE established 4 regional directorates across India. For South India, Bangalore; North India, Jaipur; and East India, Bhubaneswar; so West India, Bhopal. So these are the 4 regional directorates started by NCTE. In 1993, Yashpal Committee was appointed on school bag. Yashpal gave a report on school bag by a title, Learning Without Burden. Of course, Yashpal Committee was base for National Curriculum Framework 2005. In 2001, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan program was started. In 2002, 86th Constitutional Amendment was passed by the Parliament. So based on that, Article 45 replaced with Article 21A with regard to free and compulsory primary education. In 2003 and 4, NPEGL, National Program for Education of Girls at Elementary Level, was started. In 2004 and 5, KGBVs, Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalayas, was started. In 2005, National Curriculum Framework was proposed by NCRT. So that is base for the present education system. There was a pedagogical shift from behaviorism to constructivism, teacher-centered education to child-centered education. In 2008, model schools were started. In 2009, 2 programs were launched in India. One is RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamika Shiksha Abhiyan, which is meant for secondary education, and one more program, Sakshar Bharat Mission, which is related to adult education program. In 2010, National Council for Teacher Education proposed Code of Ethics for Teachers. In 2013, RUSA was started, Rashtriya Uchchataran Shiksha Abhiyan. In 2016, TSR Subramaniam Committee was appointed on new education policy, and 2018 Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan program was started. The intention of Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan to integrate SSA and RMSA. SSA is meant for 1st class to 8th class, RMSA is meant for 9th class to 12th class. So In 2018, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan integrated these two programs, so it is meant for first class to 12th class education. So in 2020, based on the recommendations given by Kasturi Rangan Committee, 2020 National Policy on Education was started. So in that, CTET and TET is compulsory to become a professional teacher. So these are the important milestones in the history of Indian education system. So this is my memory power. So how could I develop this memory power? I will give some tips. So watch these videos till the completion of memory and forgetting. You know the concept of memory? It is the ability or mental capacity to store and recall and recognize events that were previously learned. Ebbinghaus in 1885 published a book on memory on the area of remembering. It was the milestone in the history of experimental psychology. Let us discuss some previous questions on the concept of memory. The ability of an individual to store his experiences in the brain and recall them into his consciousness whenever required is option 1 memory, option 2 recognition, option 3 retention, option 4 learning. So these are all similar, but the answer is 1 memory. You know the concept of memory? It is the ability to recall and recognize the past experiences. The book written by Ebbinghaus was option 1 on memory, option 2 anthropometric analysis, option 3 experimental psychology, option 4 genetic genius. You know, Ebbinghaus published on memory in 1885 in Germany. In that book, he suggested some experiments and he used nonsense syllables to test his memory power. So this book is the milestone in the history of experimental psychology. Next question. The person who conducted several experiments on memory in the anthropometric lab, which was established by himself. Option 1 Ebbinghaus, option 2 Pavlov, option 3 Galton, option 4 Bagley. Answer is 3. Sir Francis Galton started anthropometric laboratory to test mental processes. Experimental psychology laboratory was started by Wilhelm Wundt. He was father of psychology, but don't get confusion here. Anthropometric laboratory was started by Sir Francis Galton. Scientists who specified about engrams. Option 1 Ebbinghaus, option 2 Stout, option 3 Rayburn, option 4 Kohler. So very simple. Engrams specified by Ebbinghaus. Which psychologist used nonsense syllables? It is not syllabus, syllables as a material of learning. Option 1 William James, option 2 Skinner, option 3 Ebbinghaus, option 4 Bartlett. Answer is Ebbinghaus. Ebbinghaus used nonsense syllables by using two consonants. In middle of the two consonants he used an vowel, so to make the word difficult, and he tested his memory and he proposed some principles with regard to memory and forgetting. One of the statement is true with regard to the memory and learning. Option 1 learning is dependent only on memory. Option 2 memory is hereditary and learning is related to environment. Option 3 memory and learning are interrelated. Option 4 each of it can happen in the absence of the other. You know, memory is nothing but the ability to recall and recognize the concepts, facts, dates, years that were learned in the classroom. So memory and learning are interrelated. In fact, learning means relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs due to experience. So memory and learning are interrelated. Next concept, memory process. Memory process consists of 3 stages. The first one is encoding, second one is retention or storage, the third one is retrieval. So try to understand By using sense organs, we receive the stimuli in our brain. It is called encoding. Encodes may be visual encodes or auditory encodes. Second one, storage or storing the information. Retention, retaining the information or possessing the information for some time. It is called retention. So retention is a very important step in memory process. Now we are discussing various steps or stages in memory process. The first one is encoding. Encoding means receiving the stimuli through sense organs. It may be visual encodes or auditory encodes, touch or smell encodes. And the next stage is retention or storage. If the student is able to retain or possess the information till the examination, it is called storage or retention. Next step, retrieval. Retrieval is the process of actually remembering the facts which the student has learned. I will give one simple example. Now you are learning the concept of memory. Through auditory encodes and visual encodes, you are learning all the concepts. The concept of memory, Ebbinghaus book on memory, the year 1885, it is called encoding. Now you are able to store all the concepts and important milestone in the history of Indian education for some time. It is called storage or retention. After 1 week, if I ask a test or if you want to attend an online test in our app, if you are able to recall and recognize, it is called retrieval process. So there are three important stages in memory process. The first one is encoding, second one is storage or retention, the third one is retrieval. So in encoding, engrams or neurograms are formed in the brain. These engrams and neurograms are possessed by the person, or if a person is able to store or retain for some time, it is called retention. So whenever necessary, if the person is able to recall and recognize all these engrams and neurograms, it is called retrieval process. In one of the TET and CTET examinations, this question was given: the correct sequence of process of memory. Option 1, retention, encoding, retrieval. Option 2, retention, retrieval, encoding. Option 3, encoding, retrieval, retention. Option 4, encoding, retention, retrieval. You know the answer 4, encoding, retention, retrieval. So you should remember the sequence of process of memory. Next question: encoding, retention and recall are the three aspects in this process. Option 1, memory. Option 2, transfer. Option 3, learning. Option 4, forgetting. Answer is 1, memory. The process in which the sensory organs convert information into code language to store easily and recollect when required is called: option 1, encoding. Option 2, retention. Option 3, retrieval. Option 4, relearning. The process in which the sensory organs convert information into code language to store easily and recollect when required is called encoding. Next question: change in the neurological system of a person due to the process of memory is known as: option 1, engram. Option 2, generical memory. Option 3, biogenetical memory. Option 4, linguistic memory. Answer is 1, engrams. Engrams also called as neurograms. Next important question: the process in which engrams that are in encoded form are decoded into their original form is called: option 1, retention. Option 2, retrieval. Option 3, recognition. Option 4, relearning. Answer is 1. So if encodes are decoded into their original form, it is retention. The learning and experiences are stored in the brain by an individual for a period is called: option 1, memory. Option 2, retention. Option 3, recall. Option 4, recognition. So answer is 2, retention. So retention or storage, it is the ability to possess the information for a period.